I was standing in my backyard at 6:30 in the morning, still half asleep, still in yesterday's clothes, watching an excavator tear a wooden bridge apart like it was nothing. The metal teeth bit into old oak splinters flying into the creek, and the woman in charge just stood there with a clipboard and a smile, completely sure she'd won. What she didn't know, what she couldn't know yet, was that the bridge she was destroying didn't belong to me, and it definitely didn't belong to her HOA. Let me back up, because this didn't start with heavy machinery or shattered wood. It started quietly, the way these things usually do. I moved into Riverside Meadows in 2015. Nice place. Quiet. Tree-lined streets, manicured lawns, the kind of neighborhood that looks perfect in listing photos. I bought the house because of the backyard, honestly. Behind my fence was a narrow creek, and crossing it was this old wooden footbridge. Nothing fancy. Weathered oak planks, moss on the rails, probably built in the late 70s. It connected my yard to a stretch of public forest with walking trails. The realtor mentioned it in passing, said it connected to county land, part of a public access path. I didn't think much of it. The bridge had been there forever. It felt permanent, like part of the landscape. For the first few years, the HOA was background noise. Emails about trash cans, lawn height, a 4th of July barbecue. Easy. Then the leadership changed. Ramona Prescott became HOA president. She was in her late 50s, always impeccably dressed, always speaking like she was running a boardroom instead of a neighborhood. The tone shifted almost overnight. Everything became compliance. Every rule became a weapon. I didn't have a problem with her at first. I barely noticed her, until the morning she pulled up in a luxury sedan and stepped onto my property line. I was standing on the bridge with a cup of coffee when she asked her first question. "Do you know whose property that structure is on?" No hello, no small talk, just that. I told her what I'd always believed, that the bridge was part of the county right-of-way connecting to public land. She smiled, but it was the kind of smile that never reaches the eyes. She said the HOA was doing a review to ensure everything in the neighborhood was compliant. She lingered on that word like it was supposed to scare me. 2 weeks later, the email arrived. Formal. Cold. Subject line: Property Compliance Review. Notification. It said the HOA had identified an unapproved structure adjacent to my rear property line, the wooden footbridge. I had 30 days to provide documentation proving HOA approval for its construction or demonstrate that it fell outside HOA jurisdiction. I read it twice. Then I opened the box with my home purchase documents, deed, survey, title report, and there it was, plain as day. The bridge wasn't on my land. It sat just beyond my lot on a separate parcel marked as public right-of-way. I wasn't worried. Not yet. This kind of thing was literally my job. I'm a forensic accountant. I've spent 20 years untangling records, tracing ownership, finding the truth buried in paperwork. Small details matter. People make assumptions. I catch them. Still, something about Ramona's confidence stuck with me. I talked to my neighbor Griffin, who'd lived there longer than I had. He sighed when I mentioned her name, told me about other homeowners she'd worn down, endless meetings, endless citations, until they gave up. He warned me she didn't like being challenged. That night, standing on the bridge, listening to the creek, I decided I wasn't going to roll over. I pulled county property records. Slow, outdated website, but eventually I found it. Row 1847. A pedestrian easement established in 1979. Maintained by the county. The bridge was public infrastructure. I printed everything, highlighted it, organized it, and I sent Ramona a calm, factual email with the documentation attached. Her reply came an hour later. "The board will review your materials at our next meeting." That was it. 2 weeks after that, I got a meeting notice. Urgent, mandatory, emergency HOA session. When I walked into the HOA office, it felt like a courtroom. Folding chairs, projector screen, Ramona at the front, flanked by board members. She launched into a speech about safety and standards, then pulled up a photo of the bridge taken from a bad angle, making it look unstable. Then a hand-drawn map showing the bridge inside HOA-managed land. It was nonsense. When I spoke, I kept my voice steady. Explained the bridge wasn't mine, wasn't HOA property, and that I'd sent proof. She barely looked at me, held up her hand-drawn map like it outweighed county records. She said something that made my stomach drop. The covenant map takes precedence. They voted. 12 in favor of enforcement. No one voted against. I was given 30 days to remove the bridge or the HOA would do it and bill me. That was the first time I felt the ground shift under my feet. The social media posts started the next day. Ramona painted me as uncooperative, a safety risk. Comments piled on. People I'd never met decided I was entitled, dangerous, selfish. I didn't respond. I documented everything. But late at night, standing in my kitchen reading those comments, I started to doubt myself. Just a little. Was I wrong? Was I being stubborn? Was this really worth it? The pressure was real. HOA fines, legal threats, public shaming. I understood suddenly how people broke under this, how they gave in. For a moment I almost did. Then I called the county. I spoke to a property specialist who put me on hold for 15 minutes. When she came back, her tone had changed. That bridge is county property, she said. Any destruction would be vandalism of public infrastructure. I asked her to put it in writing. 2 days later, I had a signed letter on county letterhead stating exactly that. I forwarded it to the HOA. Their attorney replied, dismissing it, claimed HOA authority over anything visible within the neighborhood. That was the moment I stopped trying to convince them. Instead, I prepared. I installed cameras, one under my porch, one hidden in a tree. I saved every email, every post, every threat. I built a timeline so detailed it would make a prosecutor smile. Then the final email arrived. The HOA would demolish the bridge Monday morning at 7 a.m. Costs would be billed to me. Interference would result in fines. I read it twice, and I smiled. Monday came with fog. Heavy diesel engines woke me at 6:15. I looked out my window and saw the excavator, the dump truck, the crew, and Ramona standing there in a blazer, clipboard in hand. I walked out barefoot, phone recording. I told her they were about to destroy county property. She told me the HOA had authority. She told me if I interfered, she'd call the police. So I stepped back, and I let her do it. For 47 minutes, I watched oak beams splinter and collapse. The bridge that had served the public for decades reduced to debris. Ramona supervised every second. When it was over, she told me the HOA appreciated my cooperation. That afternoon, I sent everything to the county. Within 48 hours, an investigator was sitting at my kitchen table. He'd watched the footage, reviewed the emails. Willful destruction of public property, he said. The county demanded $75,000 in restitution. The HOA panicked. Board members resigned. Residents demanded answers. In court, the evidence spoke for itself. Emails, videos, county maps. Ramona couldn't explain why she ignored documentation, couldn't produce written legal advice, couldn't justify the demolition. The judge ruled against the HOA in full, $93,000 with fees. Ramona was removed as HOA president days later. I didn't celebrate. I didn't gloat. I just stood where the bridge used to be, looking at the empty creek crossing, knowing one thing for certain. Power built on assumptions always collapses the moment it meets the truth.